And I said to you, I'm pretty sure I said to you, will you take my...
Oh, you did ask me.
Yeah, will you take my publicity picture?
You definitely... I remember you asking me, and me thinking, oh, wow, because I wanted to use the... I'd recently, although I was at school, I'd met a guy called David Meek, who was lovely, and had a studio in Islington.
That's right.
And I said to David, can I use your studio to do a shoot with a friend of mine who's... And he said, cool. So I did the shots on my beloved Hasselblad that I just bought, and Dan, you came with your sax and you sat there and we did the shots. But I left school at about 15 and a bit, 15 and a half, 15 and a bit, and I got my first job in London. You were talking about your £200 a week as a teacher. My first job was £11 a week, cycling around London delivering photos for a press agency by day, and at night I was photographing bands. And whilst I was doing that, photographing bands, you were becoming one of the biggest people in the music industry. I did 2 tours with Hot Chocolate. We got on like a house on fire. In fact, we still do. We're still all mates. I'd stayed friends with Errol till he passed away, and Harvey, who is still in the band, I talk to quite frequently, and we're all very close. But I overheard the other brass players saying, what are you going to do when this gig finishes? And one of them said, well, I've got my summer season at Butlins. And I just thought, that is not for me. I'll go back to teaching, because I've no desire to go to do a summer season anywhere, At that moment, somebody you know very well, Pete Van Hook, went off to Montreux. Actually, a couple of years earlier, he went to play at Montreux. And he was asked to be part of a group to accompany Van Morrison, who'd just shown up without a band. So quite often Van would stay at his house. So I would go around there and we'd watch Tony Hancock, and we'd watch videos, and we'd have a laugh, we'd listen to music, and we'd play together. So the first gig that Pete really had in England was the first Nebworth Festival with Van Morrison. And they said, well, come along, bring your sax. And these things all happened simultaneously. I'd also played on a Monty Python record and got to know O'Neill Innes and all the Pythons. Then Tony Hall, who was a great music manager, asked me, would I write top lines for The Real Thing for their songs, to copyright them? And then Van asked me to join the band as his musical director. So all these things are happening at exactly the same time. Amazing. So those days, obviously the 70s, I sort of crept into the music industry in sort of, like say, 74, when I left school. Eventually was starting to work with some big bands myself. I was astounded, but not surprised, as to how incredibly big you'd become.
It was interesting because it was so diversified.
What, music and film?
Well, I was doing records, I was playing, I was writing commercials, I was doing television drama, I was doing feature films, all at the same time. And thankfully, I have all my diaries, so I know exactly what I was doing and when I was doing it. Yeah,
I've got a lot of mine too. I found one of my diaries from 1974.
All right.
And I'm looking at it, and it says geography Monday, maths, the exams Tuesday, or mock exams they were, blah, blah, blah. And then it says on Thursday, Lou Reed at the Rainbow Theatre, right? And then on the Friday it's something else, and Saturday I'm photographing someone. And so, but I was at school and sneaking into gigs. But it took me a few years, from 74 to 78. It's actually 4 years for me to go from a no one to 78 to be on tour with Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
For me, it was an incredible 4 years, because in that time I'd been working with, obviously, Pink Floyd, the Rolling Stones, Status Quo, The Who, Queen, and so and many other artists as well. And I thought, it's amazing. So I moved to America in 78, doing all that sort of stuff. We then connected, and again, because now it was easier to communicate, where are you, what part of the world you're in. And for me to find out what you were doing, you work out the artist. I know we're sitting in front of some gold discs, which you say it's because you had some space on the wall. It's not the only reason. But
got to fill the wall up.
Well, you've got to fill the wall up. But when I look at, we've got George Michael, we've got Titanic, we've got Rod Stewart, we've got Tina Turner, we've got just no end, Simple Minds. And this is a snippet. Now we've got a time on the planet where things have changed again. Yeah.
And we're now moving into what you and I would scratch our heads and go, what is that about? But it's the metaverse. And that is the things that we are planning now are quite remarkable.
Spectacular.
And it's we've got some very exciting times for us old timers. So what we're doing now in the metaverse, our plans, along with our partners V Empire, are very exciting. But to be working with people who are the best in the business, who really understand it, that was a very important factor, and they are for us the most on the button, proven, intelligent, and smartest of them all.
But it's exactly the same. For example, if I'm working with, say, George Michael, it's the best musicians, the best engineer, the best producer, the best song, the best artist.
Absolutely.
And then it sells millions and millions of copies.
Of course.
This stands to reason.
Yeah, of course. When you're working with the best people, it really does help.
It does.
It really does help, especially in an area that we're not so, it's not.
And everything goes smoothly because everyone knows what they're doing.
Exactly. There are estimates that the metaverse will generate up to 5 trillion before 2030. It's got incredible potential. We are going to be able to show the younger generation and people out there today who are in that metaverse, people are going to be able to see the things that you've been doing and the musicians that you've worked with. Some of these things now we're going to be showing to younger people who just got no knowledge of any of this that's behind us.
No, that's very true.
Which is exciting.
That's very true. And I've always thought, that the great thing about basically the precursor to the metaverse, I guess, which is obviously the internet, is how it's opened up avenues that we probably thought were closed.
That's right. And we've got some really exciting plans of bringing the music and everything that you've been doing, we've been doing, and the world's been doing into that world with younger people today who haven't really got much knowledge about that in the past, but we can bring that to them in a way that is real. Because
it literally is something like, inventing a CD or inventing a 45 RPM record or a long playing album. It's a progress.
This is possibly bigger than all of that.
Yeah,
because now we can reach people anywhere around the world instantly
at the same time.
And we can do things that we just could not before. Things that couldn't be done. Now we know how to do this, and now the technology is allowing us to do this. So what we've got planned is very exciting.
Because your photos, it's not unfair to say that they're iconic.
That's very kind of you.
And there's something about. It's very interesting that you're able to capture the essence of live music, and I think it's a deliberate thing. I mean, I'm hoping it's a deliberate thing, and not just a bunch of accidents. I'm sure it's not.
It's an aim. It's one of my aims.
No, but in every photo that I see that you've taken, there is another layer than just being a picture of Freddie Mercury or a picture of Frank Sinatra on stage or Lou Reed or whoever it might be. There's something more in the picture. And I think the artists realise that as well. They see it.
I hope so. Well, some of them,
I know they do.
Well, it's nice to think. It's nice to know. Listen.
This is why they stay connected to you.
I remember sitting on the plane with Bob Dylan in 1978, and he sat there telling me how much he loves my photos and telling me I'm an artist and how brilliant. And I sat there thinking, please, someone record
this.
Please, somebody record this. This is like, and it was such a lovely thing. He hired me because he loved my photos.
Yeah, I really do think, as I said before, that you are up there.
Not up yourself.
No,
you're right up yourself.
No. I think your photos are different from virtually everyone else's, and they have an imprint of their own.
That's and
you know, for somebody to be able to sort of possess them and actually experience them, I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Very impressive.